Thank you very much. Great to be with you. And Ms. Zarecki, I'm so sorry for your loss. And I just want to say that I'm here today on behalf of my great niece, Leah, who passed from SIDS just over a year ago. And as my niece has said, our family will never be the same. So Leah's with me always, every day. And the pain that my niece Miley and her husband Dan have gone through, and my sister Debbie and her husband Peter, and our entire family. So I'm with you every day. I appreciate your courage coming forward. And I want to thank Dr. Beers and every pediatrician in this country. I find it extraordinary when I went to do the research after losing Leah to understand the scope of this. It's quite an extraordinary public health success that we cut the number of unexpected infant deaths in half, I believe, from the back to sleep recommendations. But I'm troubled, having done the research. My staff is giving me some statistics in my home state of New Hampshire. In the period between 2011 2018, 62 sleep-related infant deaths in my home state, 15 due to SIDS, 42 undetermined. But despite the recommendations that all infants be placed on their backs to sleep, the New Hampshire Review Group found that only 48% of cases reviewed had been placed on their backs. And so I want to support, and I've asked to co-sponsor the legislation as well, I want to support the additional research from the truly unexpected, unexplained deaths. But I also want to focus on this issue of education and training. In our case, my great niece Leah died in a daycare setting. And so one of the questions I have for both of you is, what more can we be doing for training parents? And I think your point was very important about we need to ask why they're not able to comply. What is your fear? What is your worry? But also, what can we do to be training childcare workers and providers? And Ms. Zarecki.
I think Dr. Beers would probably be best suited to answer that question. Scarlett's death was not an incidence. It was not related to unsafe sleep practices.
Right.
We followed the same guidelines from the AAP. We followed them until Scarlett was 16 months old, well past the age. So Scarlett's death is truly unexplained and unknown. So I'm really not qualified to answer that, and would defer to Dr.
And that's true in our case as well.
Yeah.
We
Yes.
followed, my niece followed all of the protocols. So if you could comment, Dr. Beers, both as to the sleep protocols, but also as to this unexpected, unexplained, what more we can be doing on research.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'd be happy to. And I think your point about childcare is absolutely spot on, because as pediatricians, we are providing education to parents and families, but don't typically have the opportunity to provide direct education to childcare centers and childcare providers. And so that is a very important place. I think we need to be thinking about providing education to sort of larger licensed center-based childcares, but also smaller home-based and unlicensed childcare centers, because often that is another group that may slip through the cracks with education. Certainly, local jurisdictions can think about regulations to sort of require that kind of training, and then as professionals, we can work to make that training available.
Can I ask about, in the research that's happening so far, and my niece and her husband are participating in the protocol at Boston Children's Hospital, and thank God they've had that support and that family support. Do we know from the research, is there an increased risk at the stage when a baby is beginning to roll over, and whether that is an issue to be concerned about?
Yeah, I mean, you do see a peak around 3 to 4 months of age, certainly, which is a bit before that period of time. But I do think it really does then come back to the point that Ms. Recchi and others have raised, is that we have, there was a tremendous public health success with the Back to Sleep campaign, and it has somewhat plateaued. And what that tells us is that we really need more information, and we need better information and more consistent information when tragically infants and children do die unexplicably. And so getting that information so that we can make those decisions is I think, most important.
And my time is over. I apologize, but I want to thank you for coming forward.